Hey there, welcome to the Deliver on Your Business podcast, where you are the boss. I'm Ron from EntreCourier.com. Entree is from entrepreneur, for somebody who is in business for themselves. And here's the deal, folks. If you're an independent contractor, you are operating a business, ready or not. So that makes you an Entree Courier. Welcome to the club. This podcast is here to help you think like a business owner and to thrive in your business. So let's get started, shall we? Well, happy Independence Day, Courier Nation. And whether you're taking the day to celebrate the birth of this great nation with family and or friends, or you decided this is just a great day to put your hustle on, I hope it's a great day for you. Welcome to episode 4 of the Deliver on Your Business podcast. Today we are in the third out of 6 episodes talking about your business plan as part of the 31-day Courier MBA series. We've looked at the who, we've looked at the why, and now let's talk about the where. As a business owner, you've got to know your area. Be familiar with how it's laid out, what's going on, what the strengths and the weaknesses are of your market. The better you know your market, the better you have a chance to succeed. Larger companies, they're going to spend thousands, sometimes millions of dollars studying a market. They're going to do focus groups and they do analysis of all kinds to determine whether or not the market can support their product, what kind of pricing the market will support. I knew a guy who used to notice that, the big tobacco companies would spend tons of money studying the market, trying to determine when the market could support a price increase. And so he watched the price of cigarettes. And when the cigarette companies would raise prices, he knew that it was okay to raise prices for his business, even though it was a totally different line of business. And it seemed to work for him pretty well, But the thing is you want to know the landscape of where you are doing your business, because if you know that, that's going to help you tremendously. That's going to give you a leg up on success. Now, if you ever pay attention to the forums and social media and things like that, so there's always somebody asking, how much can I make delivering for Grubhub or DoorDash or whoever? And there's always the answer, well, it depends on your market. So keep that in mind. What happens in my market is going to be totally different than what might happen in your market. So get to know your own market and understand what's happening where you are. Here are 7 things that I've thought of that you really want to pay attention to in your market. The first one is, I think, the really big one. You've got to do this. You just have to do this. Know your community, know how it's laid out, know the streets, know everything that you can about the layout of your community. What are the major neighborhoods? What are the major suburbs and kind of where are they? You don't have to know every street of everyone, but you want to get kind of a good feel for what is where. How are the streets numbered or named? Do they use a numbering system? Do they use letters? Do they use tree or president names? Or, and usually in a larger city, there's all sorts of combinations. But how are the streets labeled and how are the streets numbered? Usually there's kind of like a, north, south, east, and west, so there's going to be 1,000 north, 1,100 south, and so on like that. Get to know the major cross streets and know what the numbers are for those streets. So, for example, here in Denver, Sheridan is 5,000 Street and or 5,000 West, and University is 2,400 East. So get to know those kinds of numbers, because what happens is the more you get to know those things, then when you get an address and it's the 3,700 block East, you know that it's past University, but it's closer to Colorado. You know what I mean? You get to know, you're able to kind of get a picture in the map in your mind before your GPS even has a chance to pop up. And that kind of thing gives you a leg up. Get to know, here's a big one. It can make all the difference in the world sometimes, and that's just knowing how the street numbering works, and especially the odd and the even. How does your city determine where the odd number is on a street number? This is a lesson I learned here right after I moved to Denver. I had my boss tell me, he said, I'm going to teach you this and you will never, ever, ever forget how they determine the even and the odd. And I thought, well, that's pretty confident. He said, look, your streets, your odd number streets are always going to be on the north and the west side, and you will never forget that. And I thought, you have a lot of confidence in me. He says, no, seriously, you will never forget this, because all you have to do is remember that Boulder is north of us and Boulder is west of us, and Boulder is kind of odd. It's corny, but it stuck with me, So, we've got GPS, but the better we know the layout ourselves, the better we know the city, the better we have a map in our heads, that's going to give us a head start in planning where we're going, and that's going to give us more efficiency. And you need to know, if nothing else, you've got to be able to look at a map, and by looking at that, kind of know what the major intersections are at a certain point. Why do you need to know this? Because when you get your delivery offer from Postmates or DoorDash or Grubhub, it's going to show you the pickup and it's going to show you the drop-off on the map. When you know what that drop-off is like somewhere, you've got an idea how far you're going, and that just helps you evaluate right away that, yes, this is a good order, or no, that is way too far. Get to know your area and know it as well as you could possibly know it. That's the big one, but that's number one. Number two, where are the restaurants? More important, where are the restaurants that most of your deliveries are going to come from? Which restaurants are really busy? Where are they really tightly clustered? So you can be, a lot of people will call this a hot spot, where there's a lot of places that you can get deliveries from. Which restaurants are the good ones? Which restaurants are the horrible ones? The ones that that you're going to be waiting for 25 minutes no matter what happens. Get to know the restaurants, the layout, which restaurants are the ones that are paying really well, or that their customers tend to pay really well, all of these different things. The better you can know your restaurants, the better the decisions are that you can make. Number three is know the players in your market. Know who's offering deliveries. In most major cities, there's going to be at least Grubhub, Postmates, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. And then there'll be a lot of the other ones. There'll be Instacart, there'll be Bite Squad, there's Deliv, there's Caviar, there's Shipt, there's GoPuff. There's all sorts of different places like that. You've got to get to know those areas, or get to know who is doing delivery, and pay attention. Keep an idea on the pulse of them. I would tell you to get signed up for every one of them that you can get signed up on, just so that you know what the market's like. And we'll get into that a little bit tomorrow, but you want to know what's happening, and you want to know which ones are paying well and which ones are busy, and you want to know which ones are slow, and so that you can kind of make your decisions on which ones to rely on at certain times. Number four, what is the traffic like in your market? When is it horrible? Where is it horrible when it's horrible? And when is it the worst? And when it's at its worst, just how worst is it? I know it's horrible grammar, isn't it? Are there times when most of the traffic flow goes one way, but it's not that bad going the other direction? Are there areas that when the traffic is really bad that, a good alternate route that, isn't super fast, but might be better than waiting at all the traffic lights on the real main streets? I know in my market, there's a lot of those good alternate routes, but I know when I lived in the DC area for about a year, there was no such thing as alternate routes. All of the streets were bad all of the time, 24/7. And so, get to know how the traffic works in your market so that you can know when and where to avoid the worst of traffic and not get stuck on a 1-hour delivery that's only 2 miles away, right? What is the parking lot like? What is the parking like on number 5? This is obviously, it's going to vary based on what part of town you're in. In the suburbs, parking usually isn't an issue, but then you get into the more congested areas and they can be horrible. And then you get downtown and parking is pretty much a non-factor in some communities. Denver, isn't so bad, I don't think, but I've spent time getting to know it. When I was up in Chicago a little while ago, and I was just thinking, man, I would hate to be trying to do delivery around here because the parking is non-existent. And so, what are those areas where you can park? Where are the areas where you're going to have a little harder time finding parking? And where are all the alternate parking areas? Get to know the parking. Number 6, what's going on in your market? What kinds of things do you need to be aware of? Is there major construction that you need to avoid? We get construction around here sometimes on large buildings downtown, and they cordon off the streets all the way around those buildings, and it really screws your traffic up. So what's happening in your town to kind of create traffic issues, and what kind of major sporting events happen that can really mess you up? I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. We didn't have a problem with traffic, really. I mean, we thought we did, but once you spend time in any kind of large city or something, you think, this isn't that bad. But the difference was on Saturday mornings about 6 or 7 times a year, because it was the Nebraska football game. And when you had a city of 200,000 people and there were 80,000 people in the stadium, you can imagine what that does to traffic. What kind of events are happening? I've been trapped I was trapped a year ago downtown because of the St. Patrick's Day parade. I had no idea how terrible that was going to make it trying to do delivery. Get to know those kinds of things. Get to know the events and the happenings and the construction and the things that are going to impact your delivery. The 7th thing that I recommend that you get to know is understand the makeup of the residential areas. Some of this ties into parking, but you need to know, where are the houses where it's a lot easier to get in and out of? Where are the apartment complexes that are not so easy to get in and out of? Where are the condo towers that are impossible to get in and out of? You know what I mean? Get to know the layout as far as where the residences are, where the places are that you've got to deliver to, and what's it like to get in and out of those areas. These are just a few factors, really. I'm sure that there are a lot of other things. There's probably some major ones that I might have missed, and I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. Let me know something that you can think of that might be an important factor. And, I want to make this a conversation, so I'd love to hear from you about your market. Tell me about something quirky about your market, something that you've got to watch out for. I can tell you something about Denver. Denver is all laid out on a grid, north, south, east, west. The numbering plan is actually pretty easy to figure out, and the suburbs have all pretty much adopted the same numbering plan, so it's easy until you get to downtown. Downtown, they flipped it at a 45-degree angle. I don't know what everybody was thinking. I think the city started out that way, and then as it grew out, then they decided to get normal. But it can be so confusing trying to figure it out, and when you're driving and you see 14th Street and the very next block is 29th Street, who does that? What is it about your community that kind of makes you scratch your head? I'd love to hear from you on that. Go to deliveronyourbusiness.com. You can go to the comment section for this post for episode 3. You can go to our contact page and you can email me from there, or you can click on the microphone and you can send me a voicemail. So let me know something about your market, what it's like. Tomorrow, we are going to take some of what we talked about today a little bit further, because we're going to get into your market more, but we're going to do it as part of the understanding the sources of revenue that you can have. Where's the money coming from, people? And even more important, how much do you need to make? And we'll get into that more on Saturday, but it's like, show me the money, folks. Let's talk about understanding what the money can be like as we plan our business. Thank you, folks, for tuning in, for joining us today. Come on over to the website and check us out. Scroll through the previous posts, look us up on Twitter, Facebook, even LinkedIn, just by searching for Entre Courier. And you can look for our podcasts on all of the main podcast channels. As I always do, though, I save this part for last because I never want to ask this question without trying to have earned the right to ask it first. If any of the information that I provide is helpful in any way at all, can you please spread the word? If there are people that could benefit from what I'm telling you, let them know. And help us out by helping us get found. Share us on social media. Tell the people that you know who are on delivery to, hey, go check out deliveronyourbusiness.com or to go check out the Entree Courier. Leave us a review on the different podcast sites because those reviews help us get found. If you spread the news, then we can help more people succeed in their business. One last thing. Please go out there. Take control of your business. Go and be the boss.